First of all, I don't think entrepreneurs really understand what they're stepping into when they start a business. I don't think they know to have the conversation. My wife, 2014, 2015, is crying herself to sleep because she doesn't know how she's going to pay the bills. We couldn't find Peter to rob him anymore to pay Paul. If I could go back in time, I would have hired a mentor. I would have joined a coaching group. I would have talked to you guys. I would write you a check instantly for that 6 figures to help me save that, not just to save the pain and anguish and the extra money I lost by making mistakes, but also to collapse time to success. It's a matter of
All right, everybody, welcome to a brand new edition of the podcast, coming to you from the Venetian Resort, Las Vegas, the beautiful poker room. Our immense gratitude to them for hosting us. Super excited to be launching this long-term relationship. You'll be seeing more and more, better and better, right here from the Venetian Resort, Las Vegas. And today we are talking about all things leadership, effective decision-making, and how this plays out for all of us as entrepreneurs. We have a very special guest with us, but first, our co-host, David Meltzer, Lacey Book, and our super guest, Matt Schneider. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
So
it.
you have this line: success is driven by being an effective leader with moral authority. I love that. I love that. The reason why I love that, it's not the moral authority part. It's the effective leader part. You know how much entrepreneurs struggle with leadership. We get into the game because we want to be our own boss.
Yeah.
And then we realize that we literally are our own boss, that we work for a jerk.
Yeah.
And we then begin to find success, we scale, and then so many entrepreneurs struggle with leadership because we play nice with ourselves, but then when we have to bring on other people, it's a challenge. Tell us, why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, that's a deep and complex thing, right? Leadership, what we know is it's not a title, it's not a position, it's not some place on an org chart. It's many things, and many people would simplify it to say it's having the ability to influence others and get them to voluntarily follow you, right? But what I found is that entrepreneurs, they want buildings full and companies full of people that will help them build their business. They recognize that they work for a for-profit company, and that although they don't want to be the entrepreneur, they have the entrepreneurial spirit, and they help them build. And that's kind of a universal truth, that entrepreneurs want that. But it's also somewhat of a universal truth that very few entrepreneurs have it. And you mentioned they go into business for themselves, so they can be their own boss and have the time freedom and money freedom, only to find they're working more hours. They're getting paid way less money than they ever made when they were an employee, way more stress, way less freedoms. And they're like, what the hell did I do? Like, what did I, and I went through that. I became an entrepreneur in 2013, and 2013, 2015 were rough. What I didn't realize at the time is something that I learned through mentorship later on, is that, we always have the power and control to change our circumstances. When it comes to ineffective, P&Ls, profit margins, efficiencies, whatever, leadership's the problem, it's the solution. So, if you go into business, you have a big dream, big goal, big aspiration, you want to have huge impact, make all kinds of money, and all the things that entrepreneurship, which I believe is truly one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and family if it's done right. Right? You smash through any glass ceiling that exists for earning potential and opportunity to build a beautiful legacy and have an abundance in all the important things. You have to be an effective leader of yourself first. One of the things that I learned early on is the importance of core values. Nobody respects somebody that is a do as I say, not as I do type of person, right? And inherently, what's happening is that they're a fraud, right? And nobody appreciates, nobody respects, nobody admires a fraud. And ultimately, if you're seen to be a hypocrite as your team, you can be the title of a leader. You can be the CEO. Sure, it looks good on a business card, but if you're not achieving what you're capable of and you're ineffectively leading, you have a team that gets more and more frustrated. They produce less and less. They become less loyal, and ultimately, you're given the gift of goodbye when they fire you, right? And then you're found trying to build something big by yourself, which nothing big is ever built by ourselves. So, leadership is an incredibly, complex thing in some ways and very simple in others.
I was going to say, I think one of the different perspectives of being a leader as an entrepreneur is that, unlike what Sean's saying, is I think the opposite is true, that we go from being a solopreneur and we're not good leaders to ourselves. We treat ourselves like shit.
Right.
We are not prioritizing our lives correctly. We don't have our values in place because we're only a solopreneur.
Yeah.
And then when we're successful, because of the effort and sacrifice investment in ourselves, we think that we can treat, as a leader, other people the way that we treated ourselves. And that doesn't go over very well at all. And, I spend every Monday, Wednesday, Friday specifically talking about 4 core values.
Yeah.
So I believe there's values, there's daily practices, and an execution model.
Yeah.
And then people are empowered to use what you've built and personalize it in the objectives of what and where the incentives lie within the collective as a group. How can we encourage entrepreneurs not to treat others like they treat themselves, which is a rare statement because we've all been taught you want to treat others like you treat yourself. Well, if you treat yourself like shit, like most solopreneurs have to in order to get the shit started, they can't do that. How can we teach them not to treat people like themselves?
I don't think that's the right approach. I mean, I think the right approach is that they stop treating themselves so poorly.
Good.
I think that they have to get themselves they have to get themselves healthy, mentally healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy. And
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Because I'm really curious about this.
Yeah.
Do you think when you're starting a business by yourself that you can be successful if you don't have an imbalance and prioritize your business over your family, over your friends, over social activities? Never your health.
Sure.
That's the one mistake I know is, like, you have to take care of yourself, your health.
Yeah.
But I question today, with the competitive nature of being a successful entrepreneur, that you can start up a business without
Have the balance,
prioritizing. And
You got to. Yeah, you have to prioritize, but you also have to recognize that you're bringing your family and the people who love you the most, the people who are cheering you on the most, people who want you to have the most amount of success, you're bringing them along with you. And so, I think the mistake that's made is not having the conversation with your loved ones, especially your spouse, and the people you're going to be absent to for a little while, to say, look, like, we're going to enter a really challenging unit of time. And this is going to take a lot. We're bootstrapping it, we're whatever the circumstance is. And right now, this is the way that we need to prioritize some things. And so, I'm going to miss dinner, a couple of days a week. But
you got 2 minutes a day equals 2 hours on a Saturday. So I'm the king of repetitive.
Yeah.
And I believe that in your relationships.
Yeah.
You're not going to get all 2 hours every day anymore, but make sure you spend that 2 minutes.
Yeah, man. I mean, my wife and I, every single Wednesday for as long as I can remember, and it's on our calendar forever, have a date night every Wednesday. It's non-negotiable. My assistant puts where we're going, so we don't have to think about where it is that we're going to be. It's already booked in advance, and every Wednesday I can just go and I can look at the calendar, know where to go. The reservation's already there, and there's certain things like hacks, you might say, that allow for you to not put the things that also must be prioritized. Like, your marriage has to be a priority, right? I come from an experience and an upbringing where my mom has been married and divorced more times than anybody I've ever met. She's on her 9th divorce right now.
Oh,
the only thing that I knew growing up.
I like to be her lawyer.
Yeah. Well, I think there's still
The
time.
longest relationship.
That's who's making some cash. That's a good client.
Yeah. Holy
Right.
smokes, man. All I knew was failed relationships. All I knew was
Stepdads.
Stepdads.
That's a good movie premise. Have
Stepdads.
9 stepdads.
Oh, I've got a book I can write.
That's
One
sweet.
day I'm going to write a book.
I'll help you.
Yeah,
Please
would
do
you?
that. Yeah, that's an awesome
I'll have
book.
you do the forward.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, but it's it is one of those cases to where you have to all things can't be a priority. We know
Right.
that, right? If everything is, nothing is. But at the same time, it's not about balance we're looking to strike. We are looking to strike a mix. And so it's about not letting all important priorities go by the wayside simply for the sake of we're going to start a business. Otherwise, like, what are you really doing it for? If you got a pocket full of cash and you got multiple commas in the account, but every time you walk into the house, it's a bunch of strangers, or your kids, you have a really super strained relationship with your kids. What is the point of success? That's not, to me, wealth is a lot of things. Money is one component of it, but if you don't have a relationship with your family, or you're repeating unhealthy cycles, like my wife and I, we've been married for 18 and a half years. We've been together for 20. Our son will never know what I grew up with. That was a choice that I made. I went into entrepreneurism as a complete fool. I stumbled into entrepreneurism in 2013, and I was given an opportunity. I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought that I could just work hard and it would pay off. Well, that's not what it takes. It takes a lot more than that, right? So unfortunately, kind of back to your question is, first of all, I don't think entrepreneurs really understand what they're stepping into when they start a business. I don't think they know to have the conversation around, this is going to be a really hard unit of time. Here's how we protect our relationship. Here's how we don't negatively impact our kids in the process. Here's how we go all in together doing different things for an ultimate outcome. I don't think entrepreneurs even know how to have that conversation, because they're just kind of stumbling into it. They're doing a thing, they're building the widget, and then they think, I can do this better. I have a sense of what the margins are, and I can make myself and my family wealthy and give myself that freedom, so I'm going to go out and build the widget myself. Well, as we know, it's a lot more to it than that. So I don't think it's about getting ourselves to treat other people differently than I think we treat ourselves in all of the ways as a priority. And we recognize that when it does come to building something significant, they're not going to do it themselves. They may have to solopreneur it. They may have to bootstrap it for a bit. But at the same time, you also have to be building something from square one that you're looking to attract other people to help you with this journey. So you have to be clear on your mission, clear on your vision, clear on the impact you want to have, clarity on where it is you're going and why you're going there, so that you can at least have a conversation with others and get their buy-in, right? And then it becomes a matter of understanding that you cannot ask of others to do things you yourself aren't willing to do. You're a hypocrite if you do that, and nobody wants to work with or be in a relationship with the hypocrite. So I think it's a matter of, if I could go back in time, I would have hired a mentor. I would have joined a coaching group. I would have talked to you guys and say, look, before I waste $250,000 on making mistakes, let me pay you $100,000 and let me be part of your mastermind and teach me the way in which to not only save on all this pain and anguish I'm going to put myself and my family through. My wife, 2014, 2015, is crying herself to sleep because she doesn't know how she's going to pay the bills. We couldn't find Peter to rob him anymore to pay Paul, right? And if I could go back in time and know what I put them through, not maliciously, but because of naive, I would gladly pay that. I would write you a check instantly for that 6 figures to help me save that, not just to save the pain and anguish and the extra money I lost by making mistakes, but also to collapse time to success. It's a matter of prioritizing the right things, and then negotiating with your loved ones on the units of time you're going to go through and walking that journey together.
Well, I mean, the only way that you can seek out a solution for anything is first having an awareness of the problem, right? And so that's the hardest thing, because we don't have the foresight to have the awareness to seek the solution. And in entrepreneurship, it's this constant battle of, I don't know what's coming. I don't know what problems I'm going to run into. So I don't even know how to solve it. And I think that's the hardest thing around leadership, whether it's leadership in your family, with your significant other, or leadership in your business. It requires self-reflection, introspective work, and foresight to know that you are the problem, to figure out how to become a better leader. And so I think that's the most difficult thing. Like, how do we even get people recognizing that all things rely on your ability to run a successful company and your ability to be a bigger and better leader? Personal development, professional development was somewhat of a completely foreign topic to me when I first started. I legitimately thought business coaching was going to a Tony Robbins conference. Jumping in a room with a bunch of strangers, getting yelled at by some 7-foot, 8-inch tall man, right? I didn't know what coaching and development was, and so I didn't. It's what you're talking. It's just the ignorance and people. So I was too egoed up.
I had a cool business with a cool model that was received relatively well, enough for me to say, this is a thing. But why in the hell is this thing costing me money?
Right.
Why is this thing requiring that I'm here before sun up? I'm here after sundown. I'm missing. Why is that? If it's received well by the community, why? Well, because I had too much ego, too little knowledge in all the important things, an inability to leverage self-awareness to even say I am the problem.
Yep.
Right? The things I was trying to fix were the symptoms of the problem. I just didn't even have. So as we know, many people when they become entrepreneurs, they don't have a deep network of other entrepreneurs to guide them. Right? They don't know what the law of the lid is. They don't know that they are the lid, and if they're going to it like I did with a psychology degree and 10 years of law enforcement experience, that we are going to inherently bottleneck and disrupt the business. We don't have a lot of entrepreneurs a lot of times when we start to be able to tap into and say, what do I need to know? Or there's too much ego to say, help me avoid those arrows in my back.
What do you feel about the access we have today, unlike in 2013,
Sure.
or for me, 1992, when I started as an entrepreneur?
Jeez, man.
I play pickleball. Anyway, but social media, what bothers me
You're
most
aging
about
yourself.
entrepreneurship is it's led by social media gurus.
Yeah, allegedly.
And even some of those gurus are much younger than I am.
Yeah.
And they have a good idea of a specific subject matter, topic, or expertise.
Yeah.
And it would be like Sean being a doctor when he was in his 20s. He knew a lot about chiropractic medicine. And if all he was posting was about specific chiropractic techniques to help out people, that's cool by me.
Yeah.
But the problem with people today is they have a specific
Why are you pointing at
expertise
him like that?
in social media. Yeah, he's my
They're
best
getting
friend.
started, you see.
But he has a specific thing. And then you take this 19-year-old who knows one aspect of social media and
Right.
marketing,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden he's lost over $100 million like me, been married for 27 years, has 4 children, and there's no way he understands. And then you have all these young entrepreneurs thinking, this guy knows everything that he's talking about because he's standing in front of a rented car, rented house
right.
with
Or
rented furniture.
Something's parked on the side of the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Turo.
I just took the picture in front of the Bugatti store.
You did?
Yeah, like look at this. Look at me. Peacocking. No, I didn't.
One of my favorite videos, I walked out of one of those type of parties where they parked those cars, right?
Yeah.
And I stood in front of them like, look, now I'm the asshole standing in front of a
Right.
car that I don't own and a house that I don't own.
Yeah.
People loved it.
Right.
Yeah. But making it seem like I do.
Yeah, but
Right,
but how can we stop the entrepreneurs from that are open-minded to personal development, but they're going to the wrong source?
I think that's tough, man, because there is no shortage of people out there who become quote unquote coaches, or they are good at social, and so they've figured out the algorithms, and they've done a great job at painting the picture that they know what they're doing, but the reality is they don't. Snake oil salesmen are out there, and I think the biggest piece of advice is vet them. If they're
Trust
telling
and
you what.
Trust and vet.
Yep.
Trust and vet. Well, I mean, yeah, vet then trust, right? But it's a matter of like if they say, "Hey, I can help you make millions." Okay, show me your tax returns.
Right.
Like,
I had
let
to
me-
kick a
let
guy
me
off my
see-
show because he was talking about how much money he could help you make, and he couldn't afford anything.
That's the thing. That's what I'd say. To make them prove that they are doing the thing that they say they can help you do, because we all know people who call themselves coaches that are self-proclaimed gurus that are writing ebooks or whatever, right, and taking these pictures, but it's all a facade. It's all smoke and mirrors, and I think that's horrible, and I think that there's a special place in some version of hell for people who fool.
Social media hell.
Social media help, cruising along, and okay.
I got a list.
No, because
I got a list for you, God.
yeah.
Who's been naughty and who's been nice?
They're going to sit there and get yelled at by a 7-foot man for the rest of their lives.
Exactly right.
Find your best self.
Right. Yeah.
I have one last question and it's actually for everybody, because I really got sucked into this whole idea of, I love that we treat ourselves poorly. We shouldn't treat ourselves poorly. And I was like, that's fascinating. And this concept of this unit of time of suffering.
Yeah.
I love that term, unit of time.
Yeah, there's going to be a unit of
I'm
time.
a time
of
freak,
suffering.
so
Yeah,
it resonated.
But what happens, and now you're providing mentorship and helping young entrepreneurs. We all do that. One of the things that happens is unique genetic code of entrepreneurs is when they find success, they can't leave well enough alone. So now they're like, well, since I'm doing so well over here, I mean, maybe I could excel in ice cream shops, or maybe I would do really well with, opening a gym, or I bet I could coach, or I bet so we always find this thing. What happens though is when you open up a new venture, we're going through that right now. You open a new venture, you have to say for this unit of time, we're going to go back to
Startup mode.
Startup mode, right? That's hard. Because you have a lifestyle, right? And so even though you're in startup mode, you're going down and you're jumping in the new car, and so what do you say to that? How do we strike that balance? Because I even think our friends in that fight professionally, training camp, that's hard, but most of them don't do training camp at home because it would be very difficult to be waking up in your own bed and going and running. It would be easier to be like, today I'm not going to run, I'm going to hang out with my kids. Is that wrong? Should we stop that? Should entrepreneurs be like, listen, you did your thing. You're good at the violin. You have to start taking piano. Like, let's just do the thing that you do well. One, should entrepreneurs do that? Two, if you agree that that's going to happen, how can we do that better?
Well, I mean, I don't know that there's a rubber stamp universal answer to that question because, I come from a place of everybody, as long as what you want is not malicious in nature, and you're not victimizing other people, what is it our business to tell other people whether what they want is right or wrong? And so I think that's an individual thing based on what the family wants and what their goals are and what they want to achieve in this very short period of time. I just did an event a few weeks ago, and it's called the Ignite Your Life Experience, and we had Tim Grover as one of our keynotes. And for those that don't know Grover, that guy is the behind-the-scenes performance and elite coach to Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade.
Normal-sized guy yelling at you.
Normal-sized guy, yeah. But with his aura, is big, big. And, so he's in The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's that series, right? And there's a point in there where Jordan is walking out to go accept, I think it was the 5th national championship, and a reporter says, what's better, the very first one you received or your 5th one? What's better? And Jordan, as he's walking out to go accept his 5th national champion, says, I'll tell you when we get our 6th, right? And so there's this mindset amongst really hungry entrepreneurs that good enough never is. And, I think that for those of us who are visionaries who recognize that we have a very small amount of time to create a really big impact. And at some point, all of our graves will go unvisited, right? And we all share DNA with people. We don't know their name. We don't know anything about them. To us, they never existed, right? We will be that person to other people in the future. The question is how far down the road after we die will that be? When will the last time our name ever be uttered or known? When will that be? Well, that's all based on how much impact you have, right? And how big you're willing to play while you have time and the ability to do it. That allows you to create something really significant and impact a lot of people's lives. We all do work where lives are impacted and people don't know we're part of that impact, right? But for me, that's a really, really cool thing. And we're creating generational impact on our work. So to your question around, when's enough, and the whole going back to the bootstrap thing is, look, I have dreams that are so big, so vast that everybody I meet, their dreams fit within it, right? Maybe not at this table because I'm sitting amongst people that also have massive dreams, goals, and aspirations. But as a general rule, people are thinking too small, they're acting too small, they're doing too small, they're doing the common because the common is easier. It's easier than getting up and running that mile or sticking to the commitments they make to themselves. But at the end of the day, I don't know that for some people, I don't know that for us at this table, good enough ever really is. I think we're always visualizing what could be. I think we're always looking to build upon our experience and our success and our wisdom, and we're willing to take risk throughout. And at the same time, we also are able to leverage the wisdom that we've acquired, our relationships, so that that risk is minimized. We can collapse time that we're going to be in that place of shelling out more than we're bringing in, and ultimately we're putting our family at less risk of going back to a place that we never want to go back to again when it was so painful as an entrepreneur. I think we can avoid all of that, and we also there's ways of fundraising, there's ways of getting other people involved in projects and doing things to where I have yet to start anything since our first business where it's ever put me anywhere close to where we were, right? And I've got 5 different companies now that are software company to construction, the consulting, a mastermind, it's a licensing program, an equity fund, and all of it I've been able to leverage the opportunities. And you know what? Here's the cool thing that people don't know is you can actually get involved in some really, really cool opportunities for $0.
Yeah.
When you lay that track record down of really being able to produce, people will come knocking at your door and say, would you be interested in earning an opportunity? I had that call 2 days ago, a guy that works for brokering deals with power companies approaches me and says, look, we've done an analysis. We see that there's about $100 million opportunity that's on the table. We need to collapse time to getting some meetings because we're behind the curve. And we're going to pay you X amount a month, and we're going to give you a 2.5% of this deal if we get it done, right? We have some KPIs for 90 days, and ultimately, this was a call that just popped up on my calendar. It's costing me $0 to do. It's got an upswing of $2.5 million in the back end within probably a 9-month period that we're estimating, and a 6-figure front end, right? For 90 days of making connections and things. So there's also that element too, where you're able to continue to build, and maybe it's a matter of saying no to some things because it's not the right time, it's not the right unit of time, and saying yes to things like this, where it's like, oh, that shit's easy.
Yeah.
I got that.
But you
do
earn
it.
the access, as Sean says, and you earn
Yeah.
the right to succeed.
Yeah.
And I always, as a main criteria of evaluation, it's your timing and risk tolerance.
Yeah.
And when you're starting your first one, your timing and risk tolerance is significantly, because I'm on the other end of having 50 different things that I'm involved in, and I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about, and that becomes my criteria.
Yeah.
Something in the front end, something in the back end. And it's the timing and risk tolerance you talk about. I decided in 2008, when I lost everything, that I already have paid the dummy tax.
Yeah,
So
right.
I had all that. That's why my timing and risk tolerance is completely different over the last 16 years.
Right.
And the exponentiality. I drives my wife crazy. I'm like, I didn't lose the money. She's like, you're so full of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't. I invested it.
Yeah.
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 Everyone's so
ROI on that.
fragmented,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, it's just a matter of a time frame that you say, but if you understand like an entrepreneur's mind, right? I invested all that money. I may not have been investing it wisely.
Right. Sure.
So, and I could have made better investments with the 100 million,
Yeah.
but in the long run, I didn't know what I didn't know. It may
Yeah,
have
yeah.
been the best investment that I ever made.
Sure.
Right.
Was the 100 million I supposedly, as my wife sees it, lost.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when people evaluate and interpret our track records, right? And not to say that your wife or those that don't have a full understanding or see it the same way that we do, that they're haters. But we know that the more success you achieve, the less people understand about what it took to get there.
Right.
For sure.
And the more hate that tends to come your way, right? Out of jealousy, and people are like, man, I'm only taking pictures next to cars that aren't mine on the side of the road, and acting like I'm balling. And here they are doing the thing. I mean, when I left the sheriff's office in 2013, my sergeant told me I was an idiot. I told him I was starting the business. Some people just don't understand that investment side of it, and that sometimes slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? And it just takes a little while. It takes those investments. Everything has a cause and effect. So yeah, we learned some very expensive lessons, and it's when it's squandered, when it's like, we lost that money, and we filed bankruptcy, and I got divorced, and my kids hate me. It's like, okay, that's not an investment.
But they do. They laugh at you, scoff at you, make fun of you. Then they either applaud you
Yep.
or they hate you.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys hiring?
At mattschneider.official
Yes.
is your social media handle.
Yeah.
How else can people get in contact with you if they feel inspired by these knowledge bombs that you're dropping?
You know, I'm on all the socials. LinkedIn, Instagram is probably the best way. You know, we got a variety of things going on, so you know, it's one of those things where if they want to get in touch, just reach out, and I'd love to connect on it. And thank you guys so much for having
Yeah,
me on
thank
here. I really
you.
appreciate
I
Wonderful.
love it. I always say that. That's what's so great about this podcast is I get to meet my social media, like who I stalk and who I love to consume their content.
Yeah.
And Matt's right in there. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I hope that you learned something, but most importantly, I hope that you found a few things that you are actually going to take action on. I know I did. Super inspired as always by our tremendous guests and of course by David Meltzer and Lacey Book. We'll be back again next week with a brand new edition of this very podcast. Don't miss it.